welcome to another episode of the HLTB podcast. I'm your host, Paula, joined as always by Josh.
What's up, everybody?
And today, we have a bunch of games to talk about. We both have beaten something. Neither of us has retired anything, but we've been playing a lot of very interesting games and challenges. The discussion topic for this week will be the game of the month, in this case, Undertale. And finally, we'll wrap up the episode with a round of Guess the Game, where this time it is my time to try to guess whatever Josh has picked from the endless list of the completion list. So, do you want to take it away on the
Sure.
first section?
I have completed a few little games this week. It's been I think for both of us, it's been a bit of a week, so I've only managed to get a few done. But after talking about it so much, I think last week and even a couple of weeks ago with other comfort games and things, I replayed the Tiny Bang Story, which I mentioned a few times about the soundtrack being really good, I think last week, and it being a real good comfort game a couple of weeks before that. And after talking about it so much, I was like, man, yeah, I got to replay that. So I did. And it was great. And I had a great time. But it's very much, I know it so well that I just kind of played it through in one session and I was done, and that's great. And I 100%ed it because I know where everything is. But interestingly, there are actually a couple of puzzles along the way that I've never managed to remember. So I actually still have to figure out. And there's a couple that you can't remember either because it's like a bit of randomization and a bit of a complex kind of manipulation of pieces and stuff. So that was cool. I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, cool game. Just such a nice vibe. I've spoken at length about Tiny Bang Story anyway. So, but I did play it. So there you go. That was a completion. A replay nonetheless. But one I did finish, which I think I mentioned before, is ToriDori, which is the three-dimensional spot the difference game where you get a screen which is split in half, and on either side of the screen is an identical copy, well, almost identical copy of a 3D diorama kind of scene, except there are things that are different, and it's up to you to kind of turn the scene around and look closely and find the differences. And it could be the color of an object is different, or the position is different, or the size is different, or there's lots of differences that could be in place. So sometimes it's not quite obvious, sometimes it's super obvious because it might be like a person running, but they're running in the other direction, and it's like, oh, I can see that quite easily. But other times it could be just like someone's shoe is a different color, so it's kind of hard to see because you've got to get close enough to actually pay attention to the color of someone's shoes. But good game though. Very simple, very, nothing to it. Again, with games like this, which are quite simple and have a very simple premise that is repeated, they did the good thing where they had lots of content and there's lots of levels and lots of scenes to troll through and find differences. So that's good because games like this often end up being quite short and disappointing sometimes when they're small little puzzle games. But this one had just enough content. If it had some more, it might have outstayed its welcome, but if it had less, I would have felt shortchanged. So it kind of worked out all good in the end. Then I was actually having a look at the HLTB forums, just as you do, and there's a thread on there, or there's a topic that has come up a few times that people have talked about, which is usually like how they pick their next game from their backlog or something like that. And I've always seen people mention that they like to sometimes just use like the random button on the backlog list that exists on the site. I've never done that because I just haven't. But I thought the other day someone else had mentioned it and I was like, actually, that might be a good idea just for something completely random on my backlog to play, because I do have a bunch of random stuff on there. And so I did. I went and hit my random button and I got a game called Sorry James. And Sorry James is a puzzle game that's like a hacking themed puzzle game, but it's very much just a puzzle game. The story, quote unquote, is that you are a hacker who is trying to decrypt files. These files have been sent to you by someone via like a chat program that you talk to, a contact, and you're not sure if these files are like important or not or whatever, because they tell you not to read them once you've decrypted them. So of course you read them when you've decrypted them. And the files basically end up being chat logs from someone's like chat history. It's very kind of like back in the day IRC or ICQ kind of chats, or like think of like a Discord chat history if that was in a file. But you only get one side of the conversation. You only get the local side. The rest of it's still garbled, so you only hear or see one person's responses and questions and stuff without seeing the other person's. So you have to kind of infer bits here and there if you're trying to follow along. But that's kind of the bad part of the game, because one of the tags that it has that could perhaps put people off is like sexual content or something like that, or not safe for work.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the chats, they talk about like sexual experiences and fantasies and this kind of thing, but it's actually really boring and just even juvenile, some of the conversations. And it's meant to be this kind of very adult conversation about sex and stuff, but it actually ends up feeling like it's written by a 14-year-old. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. This is boring as batshit. Like, but thankfully, the puzzle solving, which you do in order to decrypt these files, is a lot of fun. It's a type of puzzle I've never encountered before, so I don't know if it's been repeated, but it's kind of like a cross between almost like a Picross and a Minesweeper and something like that, where you get basically a grid that doesn't always have to be a square. It could be like multiple shapes, but there's a grid basically with lines, parallel lines on, and nodes where they cross over, and some of them have numbers on them. So there might be like a white box with the number 1 written on it. So that means that it's next to another white box, but only 1. So you need to click on a node next to it to create a white box kind of thing.
Yeah.
There might be another one which is a white box that says 5 on it. So you might have 2 on the left of it, you might have 2 above it, and then another 1 below it, and that creates 5. That's the basic logic of the whole game. But there's white boxes and there's black boxes, and depending on their configuration, sometimes they cross over, sometimes they don't. There are special boxes that can be kind of rotate the nodes, so not all nodes are connected. So maybe in one line, there's actually a corner that kind of takes it round a corner, so you have to keep counting that way. Sometimes there are like, they've got like plus symbols on them, so they kind of boost the connection between nodes, so you end up getting more connections than if there wasn't that. And, you know, there's all these kind of variables and stuff to essentially achieve the same thing in the end, which is to have a grid of these kind of numbers attached to the appropriate number of boxes and nodes that they're indicating. So as you can imagine, when you start making that more and more complex and larger, and you add more variables and stuff, it actually gets quite difficult. But it ends up being a lot like, it made me think of Minesweeper a lot, because you're often thinking about the surrounding boxes around the number that you can see and trying to, you know, add it all up and make it make sense. So yeah, that was the basic gameplay. I don't know if I've explained it very well, but I'm sure if anyone is interested, if you look it up, the screenshots should show you pretty quickly a rough idea of what it's like. But yeah, it's one of those games where I like the puzzles because they're logical enough and they're kind of mathematical in a way. So once you get into the rhythm of thinking in that way, it becomes quite straightforward, and you feel like you're on it, and you can see the formula, and you really can just solve things, and you're a genius. So that's cool. The one thing that I really didn't like that kind of killed it for me was the ending. So I don't want to spoil anything, but basically you're given a choice in the game, and it doesn't matter, because when you get to the ending, you get the exact same ending no matter what you've done. And that's always annoying.
Yeah.
But other than that, the puzzles and everything were a good time. It was just the story layer that kind of annoyed me, but that's probably just a taste thing because, your mileage may vary. But for me, it didn't really land very much. But I'm glad I played it. It was only a short game. I have since randomized another game, which I'll talk about when I'm talking about what I'm playing. So I'm kind of into this randomizing my backlog at the moment. The one thing that I think will put me off if I do randomize it would be to randomize like a really long game, because I already have other long games I'm trying to play, and that's kind of why I've stayed away from it before. And whereas if I can randomize it into some little shitty couple of hour game that I've forgotten about that was in my backlog, then cool, that's a good reason to play it and play something different. So that's that. But yeah, what have you beaten this last week or so, Paula?
Well, so thanks to some Spanish YouTuber that I've been watching lately, I ended up playing Papers, Please. So what happened was that I
Nice.
was just jumping through these YouTubers like videos. His name is his username is by debate, and he usually like plays like smaller indie games, and sometimes he makes a video about them. And he has like a second channel by the live where he um edits like little highlights from his streams. So one of those games was Papers, Please, and I was like, "Hey, I remember this game. It was kind of fun, it was like very complicated at the time I tried to play it. So maybe I understand it better now." So I went into Papers, Please, and it ended up being like, holy crap! I forgot how complicated this game it was able to be, but also had a very good time. So in Papers, Please, you work as, I guess, like as some kind of officer, I guess, where you have to see who tries to cross into Artosca, which is like the fictional country that you're working for, and Gloria Artosca and all that jazz. And you are supposedly like picked by a raffle or like a lottery or something. And it's like, okay, you have a new job. Come here, please. And at the very beginning is very simple. You just have to say, okay, this one is approved, this one is denied, and you only have to review the passport of the person who is trying to pass through the border. It quickly devolves into trying to figure out which documents are are like fake, and which ones are real, and try to pay attention to like the dates and stuff like that. And then shit happens, and each time you're asked to review even more and more documents, to the point that where the game is like, you know what, these two documents, they are now merged together because we know we are asking you for bullshit at this point. So at the end of the day, it was really, really fun. Like, it has like an overarching story that has to do like with the politics of the continent, I guess, where this takes place. So, for example, you have a moment where, hey, you kind of have to check every single person from this other country because we have a couple of terrorist attacks, and it seems that there's like a terrorist group from there. There's like, sometimes you have like a situation where there's a pandemic, and each time you read the newspaper, you kind of have an inkling of things that are to come. Because like there's like a little search of polio, I think it was, on a specific country. So after a couple of days, the first measure was to just forbid entry from that country. And then it ended up being like, you know what? We kind of need like a proper sanitary thing where we ask for vaccinations and stuff for people to cross the border. Which, by the way, this was before COVID-19, so now it feels more real.
Yeah.
And then, and there's like, the way the game works is that there's like specific NPCs that are like fixed. They always appear at more or less the same date and time. Like some weird group that is trying to have you on their side and have them help you, have you help them to cross the border and cause mayhem. But there's also this guy who, the first time he comes to the border, he's like, "Hey, let me pass. You don't have a passport. What is a passport?" And then it's like he brings like a passport painted with crayons or something, and it's ridiculous. And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Even though you have the correct documents, I know they're falsified. I know I'm gonna get penalized for not letting you pass, but fuck you. You caused me enough troubles in my previous playthroughs of the game, so you're not passing anyway. So yeah, there are instances where you're given like the option to do something that is like um, out of the rules that you're given. Which, by the way, you have like an actual book with the rules, and you also have the various locations of the game, plus every available valid issuing city from where the passport can come from, and entire encyclopedia of which documents people has to have, accompanied by the seals they have to for them to be valid, which it was a very big help. Otherwise, I don't know what to do, but the one thing that I was worried about was the sheer amount of things you have to memorize for you to be able to do things as quick as possible. But at the end of the day, after seeing, I think it was over 2,000 passports on each playthrough, you kind of like memorize stuff. Like, I wish I could memorize cities of different countries in real life, but that ain't gonna happen, it seems. And I got a grand total of 4 endings in this walkthrough. So I already said there's this very fishy group, and one of the inspectors comes in and says, "Hey, promise me you show me anything that has this symbol on it because we're investigating this thing. If you give the evidence to this person, you'll get arrested and executed, even though you're trying to help the country. So that is not the way to go. You can also like give into the whims of the group and do a specific task that will also get you arrested and executed, and you know nothing about your fine." Oh yeah, there's another mechanic. So the incentive you have to do good on your job is that you have to pay rent, you have to pay for heat, for food, and you have to maintain your family. On my first playthrough on like this run of the game, my son died, so that was fun. And, the rest of the people survive, I think. I hope. More in that later, because I got 2 of the, I guess, the end of playthrough endings that it mainly has to do on which degree you side yourself with the suspicious as group.
Mm-hmm.
And also your neighbors suck now that I think about it. Because in one of my playthroughs, this suspicious person came with money. And at that point, I was doing so bad that it was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to accept the money. Like, at that point, I think my son already died. And it was like everyone was ill in my family, but I didn't have enough money to treat them all. So I was like, fuck it. I'm accepting the money. I'm only using the money for this emergency. And your neighbors suck because they see that you're eating 2 days in a row, and they said, "Hey, you're wealthy. Fuck you. We're gonna call the police." And you get all your money like confiscated, even the savings you had like from before. They have to be careful about it. And that ended up having me like heavily involved with this criminal organization because they said like, "Hey, do you want to not get arrested? We can help." And I'm gonna say that offer was a little bit too enticing for me, but I got like the ending where you kind of like half involve yourself with the group. I don't know what happens if you fully involve yourself with the group. Anyway, they did a background check on me, and I was fucked. And on my other playthrough, I got the real Glory to a Tosca ending, in which I did everything required of me. Not perfectly, but at the very least, I kept up via this Celia's group and managed to work to the best of my ability. Also, there's a couple of side stories on the game where this one I didn't get like on my first playthrough because I got the person killed before they could give me the side story, like the side quest.
As you do.
As you do. So at some point you're given guards to guard you on your job. And there's one that is colored a little bit different. Instead of like the standard blue that every sprite that is like an ally has, it is green. And he's a guy who was like in the war. And if you manage to not have him kill after like 5 days or so, which I failed to do like in the first playthrough, but managed to do well in the second playthrough, like, and he says, "Hey, there's this girl that I really, really love that I met on the war. Can you pretty please, have her like go through the border? I know she doesn't have the papers, but please, do me this one favor as a friend, as a comrade." And at that point, I was into deep. Like, it was like, you know what, Paul? We've survived so many terrorist attacks together. We've covered each other's back. You're allowed to have happiness. I'm gonna help you. So when the girl in question like passed through the border, she was like, so you know so and so, he said you're gonna help me. And I said, "Darling, he's waiting for you," and gave her like the pendant. And they had a reunion, which it was just a couple of pixels, but holy fuck, this was heartwarming. And that day, there was a terrorist attack, and I had my friend killed, so I had to rewind time, do that day again, not have the guy killed, because he fucking destroyed my feelings to fell him like at the last second. And he kind of like was like, "Hey, thank you so much for all you've done for me. This is my last day here." And I was able to bid him farewell. What a trooper. He was there for me at that godforsaken border for only like a week. But that was a friendship that lasts like forever. Sorry, go ahead.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
I swear at some point I was more invested in these side stories than the main story of the game.
Yep.
And these side stories like kept me going through the end of the game and finally get the perfect ending of the game, see the credits, I held glory to Archipelago. So yeah, I might have gone a little bit cuckoo in this adventure. I played like 8 hours in 2 or 3 days, even though I was supposed to be studying.
Nice.
But anyway, keep my sanity in check. What have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing a bunch of stuff that I've already started, and then some other stuff. But Baldur's Gate 3, which I continue to mention because I continue to play it. I thought I'd mention it this week though because we've now definitely reached Act 3.
Ooh.
My friends and I who are playing co-op. So that's an achievement in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we've lasted 90 hours playing together without killing each other.
Holy crap.
So, and we're only playing like a couple of times a week for a few hours a week at a time. So, you know, we're very slowly kind of getting through it. And this is no spoiler, but we're at the point now where we're just outside of the city of Baldur's Gate, which you know you're going to go to right from the beginning.
Earl credits.
But there's so much to do there. It kind of, it kind of brought back part of what I don't like about the game when it comes to playing in co-op, because it made myself and my friends kind of just go off and do a whole bunch of random stuff without each other.
Mhm.
And even though they've brought in the option where if someone has a conversation with an NPC, it'll automatically put you into that conversation with them, which is cool, so you don't miss like cool quest related conversations. It doesn't mean that while you are kind of I'm like the pack rat, I'm the one who sells everything to traders in our group, so everyone just kind of dumps it on me because I'm the strongest, so I can carry as much as, more than anyone. So I'll spend like 20 minutes just trading stuff with traders, and meanwhile the other guys have just gone off and explored most of the map and gone, oh, we don't need to go there, we've already been there. And I'm like, but I want to see it. I want to meet those people, even if there was nothing to do. And they're like, oh, we've already been there, we've already talked to them, don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh. And that, or they're like, oh, we've already figured out how to get past that obstacle. And I'm like, but I wanted to do it as well. So
At times.
it's kind of, yeah, it's just the nature of playing co-op and who you're playing with as well. And like, I'm not bagging my friends at all. They're just having fun. But it's something that surprised me though about playing co-op is that you have to kind of have a different attitude to the game than if you were playing solo. Because if I was playing solo, I'm the kind of gamer that in this kind of game, I want to talk to everybody. I want to see every little inch of the map. I want to know every single thing that's going on. I don't want to miss a thing because there's so much, and a credit to the game, there's so much going on all the time. And everywhere you go, there's so much to see and do and so many NPCs to talk to. And they've all got interesting stories for the most part. And, there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to miss. So having 3 people doing stuff all at the same time kind of means you are going to miss stuff. So it just reminded me again that I have to have that kind of approach it with that kind of attitude of, look, it doesn't matter, just go for the ride, enjoy the game. If I'm that desperate at the end, I'll replay it solo to see everything and do everything else that I might have missed. And just kind of accept that the nature of co-op is that you're not going to do everything you want to do. Even down to dumb shit like, I think I've mentioned our cleric who likes to think that he's a rogue and tries to steal everything in front of guards and, pick locks and just be a bit of a shit, and always gets caught because he is a cleric. He's not a fucking rogue. But that's okay. So there's plenty of times where I'll be doing something and the other guys are like, oh, we're in a fight now. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm not, because I'm over here. I'm not part of that initiative. And they're like, yeah, can you come help us? And I'll be like, what'd you do? And they're like, oh, we freed a prisoner and all the guards don't like us. And it's like, okay, I'll come and help.
Funny how they're like, hey, don't worry, we're explored that way. And this is like the best moment to say, you know what? Fuck you. You put yourself into this trouble, so
I have to admit, there have been a couple of times where I'm like, bad luck, you're on your own. I'm busy, I'm doing something else. You guys sort it out. And like, I've even had our third character with us, so it's just the two of them trying to sort out their own issues. But but like I say, I'm not bagging them. It's just a funny kind of outcome of playing co-op that I think is different if you are playing solo. Because the other thing as well is like, if you're playing solo, you're controlling all 4 characters in your party at the same time. So
yeah,
when you talk to people or when you do something that requires a specific character, or it's a companion quest or something, you basically can't fuck it up because they're always with you, as long as you have the right companion with you for that quest kind of thing. Whereas in co-op, if I go talk to someone, but that person is actually wanting to talk to a companion who is hanging out with one of my friends somewhere else, it'll be a different conversation because they're not there and it's just me. So there are things like that we have to kind of think about as well. Like, oh no, don't talk to those people because those people want to talk to this companion who I've got over here doing some other weird thing, and hang on, we'll bring him over and get him to do that instead or whatever, it's kind of weird, but interesting. Because I don't play heaps of co-op games as, most people don't, because it's kind of difficult to get people together all the time. But it's an interesting experience, and I'm still having fun. It's still a great time. Lots of laughs, and kind of, when people do end up killing themselves, you kind of like, ha, 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 guess we're reloading. Or like, someone does wander into the wrong place and just gets completely ganked all at once. And you're like, well, what are you going to do? But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is still really good. I've kind of suspect it's going to win a lot of Game of the Year awards, just looking at the nominations and stuff that have come out
definitely.
For the, whatever it's called, the Game Awards, I think is the show.
Yep, the Game Awards.
I never watch it because it's just advertising. But yeah, it looks like Baldur's Gate is going to like sweep it pretty much. And while it's not my Game of the Year, I can see why it kind of deserves to be Game of the Year because it is very good. Additionally, I've been playing more Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is very much an Assassin's Creed game. It's getting better the more I get into it. I think last time I'd started it but hadn't really got very far. Now I'm like, I've been everywhere. I'm up to the point where I've kind of collected most of the collectibles, and I'm knocking off some side quests before I just focus on the main path to the end. I still have the same complaints. It kind of annoys me that you can't climb everything just by default. The amount of times I'm like running through the city or something, and my dude like runs into a wall and he does that thing where he kind of runs up it and then just kind of drops down because I couldn't grab anything. And in previous games, it might be less realistic, but it's more fun if you can just run up the wall.
Yeah.
Even if it does look like it can't be run up. There's just a bit of a quality of life thing there, really, which has been annoying me. But the writing has gotten better, as in I kind of had an issue with it initially during the tutorial because it did the whole thing of like, I'm telling you this because the gamer needs to know. And weird bits of dialogue between characters that's like, no one would say that, but you're trying to tell me some history or something, so fair enough. But yeah, the story, it's very much Assassin's Creed. One thing that I was hoping for, actually, which is one thing I wanted to mention, was some decent assassinations. I don't know if you remember me talking about how in the first few games they had a real thing where you kind of had to plan the assassinations. You had a real target that you had to kind of manipulate the scenario to kind of even expose them to be able to assassinate them. And it would be stealthy. And once you actually kill them, that's when you get discovered and then everyone's after you and you kind of run away. But up until then, you're not fighting anyone. You're not doing anything. You're just kind of sneaking your way in and waiting for the opportune moment kind of thing. And that was really satisfying. In later games, it ended up being almost more like action focused than stealth, where you'd have to find the person on the map. And then once you've found them, you just basically run at them and kill them. And that's that. Especially in like Assassin's Creed 4, like Black Flag and that kind of era. But I'm happy to say that in Mirage, I haven't done many main quest assassinations. I've only done a few. So, this may change, but I feel like it's going to continue. They've kind of brought it back and improved it a little as well. Because essentially you get targets, and the first step when you get a target is that you don't know who your target is. So you have to make contact with contacts in the city or find, books and journals and documents and things to try and identify who this target is, because you only hear of them as like kind of like a name that doesn't identify them. So there might be like the slaver, and you're like, okay, who's the slaver? And you kind of talk to some NPCs and stuff, and you rescue some captured slaves, and you talk to them, and they kind of describe the person who you're looking for, and you eventually go, it must be, Joe Bloggs or whoever. But and then you go after that person. And then the cool thing is then, okay, now you know who the target is. Now you need to figure out how to lure them out into the open because they're usually protected, and find the best moment to strike and assassinate them. And then, of course, once you do, probably all hell breaks loose and you just got to run away and try and hide. Or you can fight a million guards, which just takes too long and it's much easier to run away and hide. But that is really something I'm really, really happy about with the game, where it makes the assassinations feel important which is kind of a thing when that's the whole name of the game kind of thing. Like, your whole point of existing is to assassinate dudes. It's kind of like if you're playing Hitman and the guy you're meant to kill just kind of is right there in front of you at the beginning of the level and you're like, bang, okay, I'm done. Like, it's much better when it's more elaborate and you have to work for it and you have to find that one little moment where no one's looking to make it happen. And yeah, thankfully that's where they've headed so far. So hopefully they'll keep doing that to the end. But otherwise, yes, I'm very much enjoying Assassin's Creed Mirage because it's another Assassin's Creed game and it's good. And I'm enjoying the containedness of it because it is very much the city of Baghdad and the very immediate surrounding area rather than like Valhalla, which was trying to be all of England and all of Scandinavia and just go wherever you want kind of thing. And it ended up being just loads of area to cover without much, to find or do. Whereas this feels much denser because it's a smaller area, but you only have to travel for like 5 minutes to run into something that's at least interesting, if not important. So yeah, very good Assassin's Creed so far. I'm a bit disappointed that it didn't score very well. I think Metacritic-wise, it got about a 77 or something, which surprises me based on how good it is playing it, especially compared to other Assassin's Creeds. So I'm glad it's basically working out better than its score in my mind, but I'm a bit bummed because I picked it for our Fantasy Critic League, so I wanted it to do better.
That's a bit of a problem.
So I still got some points for it, but it was a pretty low scoring game for me.
Well, it could be worse. It could be like rated so low that you lose a lot of points, which I've seen happen in Fantasy Critic League.
Yes. Another game which I started a long time ago, I think I even might have mentioned it in early episodes of the podcast, is Atomic Heart, which is it's a first-person shooter, but it's like a futuristic dystopian Soviet world, for want of a better word, that is inhabited by automatons and robots who have all gone haywire and want to kill you. So,
as they do.
Yeah, it's got a kind of Bioshocky kind of vibe, but because it's kind of like a utopian society, but all the utopian aspects kind of have turned on the people. But there's someone in charge who's kind of making this happen as well, and it's I still really haven't got far enough to come to any conclusions. It's a fun game. I really like it. There's lots of weapon customization and stuff. I've got to a point where when you start the game, it's fairly linear because you're going through a facility indoors. Now I'm in an outdoors area where it's very open, where you can go whichever way you want to go, but obviously there are paths that you have to go to progress the story. But it's kind of good because it's very much more an open worldy kind of thing where when you kill robots, there's like repair drones nearby and they'll come and repair those robots after a certain amount of time. So you kind of have to manage killing everything and exploring, but then moving on because everything's going to get repaired eventually anyway. And there's like security cameras everywhere that you can disable and not get seen. Whereas if they do see you, then they'll raise the alarm and more robots will come and attack you. It's I still have the exact same complaint as when I started it, which is that the protagonist who you're playing is just, their lines and their dialogue is just so dissonant to the rest of the game, because the rest of the game are these like I say, it's kind of Bioshocky in a way. And even the things people talk about, like there's a bit of philosophy in there and a bit of ideas about humanity and society and what that means and control and government and power and all that kind of stuff. But then you've got Mr. American who's going, fuck you, robots, bam. Literally.
It's always
and
Mr. American.
Yeah, and it's just like, this doesn't fit. Like, or like there's cutscenes where a big robot might attack and so your dude is like, oh no, I'm getting attacked. But he'll say things like, screw you, you dirty robots. And like literally that kind of tone and that kind of dialogue. And it's like, this does not fit this game.
At all.
At all. Like, it's the one thing that as soon as he opens his mouth, which doesn't happen very often, thankfully, but as soon as your character has something to say, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, what is happening?
Calladito te ves más bonito.
It's insane. But it's still a fun game. I'm looking forward to unlocking more weapons to customize and things, because that's kind of the fun part, is trying different weapons and stuff. Because even like, I like a game where even your pistol is good and usable, as opposed to it just saying, here's the best weapon, go use that. You actually there are different circumstances where different weapons are useful and actually have different purposes. So that's fun. And there are some fictional weapons as well, but I haven't really got into them too much. But basically, yeah, I think the story where I'm at is essentially, for whatever reason, I'm trying to travel through this utopian society, which is now obviously everyone's dead and all the robots are there attacking everybody, and there are like dead bodies everywhere and stuff and destruction everywhere. But I think I'm basically traveling through there to get to essentially whoever's in charge to shut everything down, and I think that's the purpose. But me being me, I'm not really sure, so we'll find out. But it's good that I am enjoying it overall. It's just, that whole dissonant character thing is just bizarre, and I don't know why they chose to do that, because even there are some really cool NPC characters who you meet and who are your allies and stuff, who have been written really well and really well voice acted, and you're like, wow, this is a really cool character. But then your dude talks to them and you're like, oh, for crying out loud. You're just like, shut up, man. Like, let them talk. And yeah, but that's Atomic Heart. I don't think I've got well, having said that, I'm probably about halfway through. So I do have a bit left, not heaps, but I'm hoping to kind of smash through it quickly to make room for other stuff in my gaming world, because I do want to finish it, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one like that. But the last thing I have been playing is, again, another one from my randomizing of the backlog, which is a game I've just started. I've only played about half an hour, but it's called The Next World. It's essentially a colony survival visual novel. So the very start of it, which is what I've played, is you're on some sort of spaceship which is carrying a colony to another world, but it crashes.
No.
You crash land on some planet. Your captain dies. Your first pilot officer dies. A whole lot of people die, but you're one of the survivors and you're one of the officers. So you kind of start off as a leader of, the colony. And it's a visual novel style. So you're reading dialogue and moving through scenes and that kind of thing. But there are choices along the way which then affect certain stats. So you have to decide, the planet's not very hospitable, so you have to wear a spacesuit to get around. And so you have limited oxygen and stuff, so you have to decide, am I going to go investigate the wreck over there that looks like it's on fire? Or am I going to go investigate the wreck over there that looks pretty intact? And I'm trying to find a habitat module to help us live. Obviously, the one on fire might be the one you want to go to.
Fire.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Maybe the one on fire is where you want to go, but the intact one is just full of crap that you don't need. So when you choose one, obviously that then uses up your oxygen or something a bit. So your choices diminish the next time you have to choose something.
Oh, you have a supply of oxygen because it is a alien planet.
Yeah. And there are other things as well. There's a count for how many colonists you have. So I think at the moment, after crashing, we had 700 or something colonists is where you start. But if you find survivors nearby, in the near vicinity, then they'll add to your colony. If you make bad decisions, I think, in the future and don't have enough resources and that sort of thing, then people will die and or get sick. So you'll lose part of your colony. So there's that kind of layer to it. Even though it's a visual novel, it's very much the choices you make affect the outcome and affect different stats along the way, essentially. So it's kind of interesting, and I'm interested to see where it's going. But obviously, I'm about half an hour into it, so I'm not very far along. I've just kind of had to make a few decisions and do a few things here and there and kind of get to know what the game is doing. But again, I'm glad to randomize it because when I did randomize this game, even though it's in my library, I had never heard of it. So I must have picked it up in a bundle or something somewhere. And it's kind of cool. I'm enjoying it so far. It's a little bit different to the regular old visual novel formula that I've played in the past, and has that kind of other wrinkle to it where you have to think beyond just reading. So, well, reading and dating, I should say. There's no romance options yet. I'm not going to say there aren't any because I don't know, but there aren't any yet. We can only hope, though. But yeah, that's all for me. That's all I've been playing, really. I'm trying to get through like things like Atomic Heart and Assassin's Creed, like some big games that I've started that I have never finished. So that might be a bit of a theme for the next few weeks, leading up to Christmas at least, because I'm trying to just kind of knock off some stuff I've started without starting too much else. But yeah, what about you, Paula? What you been playing?
On that topic of not starting many things while trying to wrap up some stuff for the end of the year, I'm the complete opposite. So this is what happens when you have the attention span of a goldfish and you have a group of friends that like to drag you into anything they do. So first of all, I have Pokemon Sapphire for GBA with a twist. So I've been rewatching Jaden's animations video on Nuzlocke, which is a kind of challenge where you only can catch the first Pokemon you see in each route, and that's your catch for that route. You have to name it to maximize emotional damage when it dies, and if it faints, it is dead. You cannot use that Pokemon anymore. It goes to the box or it gets released.
Nice.
So I was kind of like interested to trying like a Nuzlocke because I kind of like wanted to play Pokemon, but I played Pokemon many times, so I wanted like a little bit more of that a challenge. And a little caveat, like the theme of this week for my playings is like I've had enough fucking bureaucracy and paperwork with Papers, Please. I do not want to read, or like I am trying to avoid reading for a while, except for the last one because that one arrived yesterday. But anyway, so in Pokemon Sapphire, like I finally managed to convince my boyfriend to play that generation of games because he doesn't really like the Pokemon in there. We ended up doing a randomizer. So a randomizer is like the kind of randomizer we're doing is that, well, for him, he was able to select his starter. He has a Ghastly as a starter. For me, I went completely random on the starters, like just ask for the Pokemon to be like the first stage of a 3-stage evolution. And that's pretty much like what randomized my starter, which, by the way, I got an Aaron, which is a Rock and Steel type, which, on retrospective, I could have picked the Trico, because the Aaron takes too much fucking time to level up. Because the way Pokemon works is that some Pokemon get experience like really fast, or like they need less experience to level up. Some need more experience to level up, and some need extra more experience to level up.
Right.
Guess which group Aaron falls into. So that was interesting. So I got my Aaron, I named her Guinevere, and like looking back, it was the best possible option I could have wished for in a starter because she's so fucking bulky. And the first Pokemon, like on the first couple of routes that I've been, the Pokemon that I've encountered are like either Pokemon that can't harm me, or at the very least, they only put me to sleep. And I can just easily batch them with my Iron Lizard and be happy with my day. So my second country was a Drowsy named Nightmare. It only knows no hypnosis and pound so far. I also got a giraffe named Gary. He is Finbox for the time being because he's pretty useless without the evolution that he got on Gen 9. And the next useful member of my party, which almost got my starter kill, was a Remoraid named Sniper. The reason it almost got my starter kill is that it has an ability. I think it was Hustle, if I remember correctly the name. That it power ups your moves in exchange for a little bit of accuracy. So instead of having like 100% water gun, like 100% hitting water gun with I think it was 30 base power, you get like 90% hitting water gun with a 50 base power, which it is pretty powerful in the early game. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
And I got an Illumise and a Pochillana. So you see that my encounters are pretty underwhelming. Not much to write home about. My boyfriend in his save has gotten a stupid amount of legendary Pokemons. Like he was about to catch like a Reggie Ice, and the only reason he didn't. He's also doing a Nuzlocke, but with slightly different rules. Like I let him like pick the Pokemon he wants to catch like on each route. They're still randomized though. Maybe because he has never like done a Nuzlocke before, so it's like okay, I'll let you have at the very least decent Pokemon for you to go through this Nuzlocke. I don't remember. He didn't catch the Regice, which by the way, it had explosion. Like the level 3-4 Regice had explosion. And the thing is, he has a Ghastly. Ghastly is immune to explosions, so he pretty much used the Regice in that route to level up the Ghastly without any effort at all.
Nice.
Because the Regice couldn't do anything. He got, I think, a Zelda in that route, but on the other route, he got a Latios. Like his options were like a Latios, a Charmander, and I don't remember which other Pokemon. Of course, he got the Latios. He got a Mew, and like Mew can. Mew has like a very limited move pool if you're just leveling it up to get the moves. It can learn every single fucking TM in the game, and it has like 100 base score like in every single stat. So yeah. Like I feel like the game is trying to apologize to him because the fact that he chose Ghastly as his starter, the Ghastly only knew Lick, which means he couldn't damage anything that was a normal type. Which, by the way, I don't think he has encountered. Like he has encountered normal types, but after he got like its second Pokemon to damage normal types. But anyway, and the thing is that Gengar is a special attacker, and Ghost type as a whole, like every Ghost type move in this game is a physical attack because this was before the revamp of the moves in Gen 4, where they split like each individual attack into physical special, contact, and all that jazz. Very complicated Pokemon stuff that you have to keep track of if you like to play like different games in very strange ways.
I understand everything you're saying.
I am so sorry. So yeah. So the important thing is I get shit encounters. He gets fucking good as an encounter. If it like he hasn't the only reason he hasn't found Arceus is because it is not coded in the game. I assure you that. So yeah, I managed to go through the first gem with little trouble because it is a rock type gem, and I have a a steel type, and a water type. So I made quick work of that. And what was the other thing? I did a little side quest, and then having wrote the encounter, I got a Meowth. Which, by the way, it sounds useless, but Meowth has the ability to pick up, so it picks up items randomly as the battle ends, and it can learn Payday, which allows you to get more money, like because it throws money at the opponent, and you can grab that money after the battle, so you get more money. Which in a Nuzlocke, it is a very powerful weapon because you're gonna need all the help you can get, especially like with super potions and X items and stuff like that. Anyway, that is my ranting about Pokemon Sapphire. I'll have more adventures to talk about in the next week.
Nice.
But let's move to another game that I'm playing, but not in a traditional way, which is Wargroove.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though I have Wargroove 2, I ended up playing Wargroove, the first one, and the version on PC, because we are doing what is called an Archipelago run with a group of friends. So, Archipelago is a platform that you can use to, first of all, randomize the items you get or like the unlocks you get on specific points of the game. Like for example, if you're playing, I don't know, Zelda, and you open a chest that usually has like a slingshot, that is one of the weapons of the game, you'll get a completely different item that is randomized from the item pool in the game. If you play with friends though, or like with different games, you can link different games. So for example, your friend is playing Stardew Valley and you're playing let's keep going with Zelda. So instead of getting a slingshot for you get to unlock, I don't know, apple trees for the person who is playing Stardew Valley, or like, or you unlock recipes for them to build. So if the person who is playing Stardew Valley completes like a little side quest mission or whatever, they will unlock an item from your game or from their game, because everything is randomized. You can get like items from any game.
That's cool.
So this is actually my second time trying to play an Archipelago campaign, because the first time I tried to, I got soft locked very very early in the game. So I was playing Ocarina of Time, and I was waiting for the slingshot to drop at any point in time. And at the end of the day, I got it like a couple of days in. I got bored and dropped it, because I was like, okay, in this game that is kind of linear, I kind of don't want to get soft lock in this way, or like depend too much on the items they send me. Wargroove in this case has a custom campaign, because you can make those on Wargroove.
Mm-hmm.
And it is linked in the same way like with the other games. So in the custom campaign, there's like the main mission that is usually like enter this stage, complete the stage, and you get a check for another player, like an unlock for another player. And the other kind of mission that you have is a completed side quest within the mission, which is usually play hide and seek with Caesar, the little doggy, and you have to find like all the dogs hidden in the level and stuff like that, which is kind of cute. So it's literally like you either have to spot them, because there's a level where they play hide and seek, or you have to walk up to the dog and pet it, and then you get an unlock for another player.
Nice.
So in Wargroove, you start only with the dog unit and the soldier unit, like the basic 2 units of the game. The more levels you unlock, there's more levels that either require you to have a specific unit or like a specific unlock. For example, there was one level where you have to fight RPs and or like dragons, and you have to have mages. Like the description of the level said, use mages to fight the dragons. And other levels will have you defend like a couple of units that they give you like at the start of the level, and you have to either destroy the headquarters or kill the commander of the other faction for you to win the stage, while not losing the units they give you at the very start.
Mm-hmm.
And so on and so forth. So it's been a lot of fun. There was a point in time where I was like, I fucking need 8 mages for everything. But the moment I got the pikeman, it was the moment where the game not broke in half, but was very close to. Because the thing is that at that point I was struggling a lot with knights. from different species, like but knights in general.
Mm-hmm.
Pikemen not only destroy knights, but if you have a pikeman like beside another pikeman, you do critical damage.
Nice.
So they are very slow but very hard hitting. So I pretty much swept that one level that I was having trouble with because I was able to decimate the knight army, but also I was able to very easily take control of all the little villages that give you money, because like 2 staffs from a pikeman, it was all it took for me to take control of the building. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We got like a stupid amount of unlocks because even though we started this last week, some people have already like finished their run of the game.
So, is everyone playing Wargroove, or are you playing different games?
Ooh, everyone is playing different games. So I'm playing Wargroove, but someone is
Because that's the interesting part to me. Like,
yeah, someone is playing Undertale, and for example, I had to complete a mission to unlock, I think, a key or something, or like an area on for the person who was playing Undertale. My boyfriend is playing like 2 games. Well, technically 3, I think. So he finished Super Mario World, which, by the way, it has randomized stages. Like the stage order is randomized.
mm-hmm.
And he people had to unlock for him the power ups. So, for example, he had to wait for someone to unlock Yoshi to finish a certain level, or even like the star power up and stuff like that. He's also playing StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, and that works in the same way that Warcraft does, in which he starts with basic units, but gets unlock more units the more we play. There's someone was playing Minecraft, The Messenger, Tunic, Risk of Rain, Pokemon Red and Blue, and Undertale, and Slay Spire.
That just seems so cool.
It is super cool. Like, you have to pick your game wisely, because obviously not all the games have the same amount of checks or unlocks. So, for example, I got 38 in total according to this, and I got 22 so far. So I'm over half of the way through on my playthrough, and I think I can finish the game soon-ish, because I'm only missing like a couple of things for me to get to the final level, and I have like very good units unlocked. Though StarCraft has 225 checks. Good luck unlocking all that without like finishing the story. Oh, and when you finish the story, like you finish like the main story of the game, you're able to just unlock everything on your world for the other players to have.
Right.
So in that way, you don't have to manually collect like over 300 things on Tunic. No, you can just get away with 100 and finish the game, and then give happiness to everyone else, like just unlocking everything on your world. But it has been like a very fun challenge, like so far. Unless you get like soft locked, which can be a pain in the ass. But overall, this run I've been eating well. I've been sent a lot of cool stuff to work with, so I've been having a lot more fun this time around.
Yeah, it sounds like a really fun way to kind of play with friends, but you're not playing the same game, so you're helping each other out, but you're not like tied to each other that much.
Yeah, we should actually try this at some point, because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'd be keen.
Okay, so away from the challenges onto the more vanilla stuff. So yesterday I started an arcade full of cats that is pretty much like a hidden object game, where you have to. It's like find Wally, but instead of finding Wally, you find cats on like a space in particular. So this game was made by DevCat, and they made a lot of games with cats, as you may expect from their studio name. And the first game I think they released from this type of game in particular was it a castle full of cats? Yeah, I think it was a house full of cats, and you have to go like from a building for a cat, whatever. You have to like the story very big quotes story of the game is that you are taking care of the cats of the residents of a building. So you have to find every cat and ensure that they are okay. So the cats are like hidden between the stuff in the building, and there's like cats you can instantly see and click on them. And sometimes you have to, I don't know, open a box and you see a cat and click on it, and you're happy. The second game was more about like lore of the game, is that there was this castle and the cats were like cursed or something, and they're like supernatural cats, like vampire cats, mommy cats, or stuff like that. And you have to click them to purify them. And then you have like a final boss fight with, I think it was Fofinho, the name of the cat, which, by the way, it was it appeared in the first game, but it feels like in the second one he was carved or something. And you have like this final boss cut with final boss fight with Fofinho, and you have to very quickly point where the I don't know 4 cats were to try to make damage to him. And the thing is, the positions of the spots where the cats are hidden were randomized for each round of attack. And if you fail to see all the cats in a certain amount of time, you were Fofinho recovers pretty much. I don't think there's a way to lose this fight, but still. And in this game, an arcade full of cats, it seems that the cats were traveling back in time to make people like cats more or something like that. And some of the cats stayed in the arcade and they don't want the space-time to rape or something like that, so they have to recover all the cats on the various areas. Which, by the way, they had these reference to Back to the Future because they're time traveling on a car. One of the cats has like this jacket, like the one was it Marty has, and it's like, okay, I get the reference. I get the reference. It's funny because you're always visiting the same arcade, but as time passes, the space, like, they had like the basic arcade stuff, but as time passes, you see like different references to different games that were like popular at that time, which is just fun. The other, like, it's not like a different mechanic, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Like, in each level or in each era, you have an arcade that you can play, which is you have to find the coin to put into the arcade, and then you have to collect whatever thing you're tasked to collect in the arcade. Usually, when you are finding cats in this game, they just get highlighted and stuff. So if you're liking, like, I don't know, if you're missing like 1 or 2 cats, you just go to wherever there's like less highlighted cats, and there's probably a cat in there. In the arcades, the item you click disappears. So fuck me if I know if I check that trash bin 7 times already. I'm still checking it again because I have the memory of a goldfish. But anyway. So yeah, I think I'm like in the quote unquote second level, which is 1985, I think. I'm missing. I got all the cats. I'm missing a fucking newspaper from the arcade game, and I don't know where the fuck it is. So it is driving me a little bit crazy, but it's been fun. It's a relaxing experience if you're not taking it too seriously like I am, but it's just been fun. I like cats, so seeing how
and it's free.
It's free. It has DLC, but the main game is free, and the DLC is like a couple of bucks. So yeah.
I'm going to play this because it's free.
So it is free. Sometimes you better not touch things, even if they're free. But this is not the case. You can go pet the cats. The final game that I'm kind of like starting, like, just shortly before the call, was Virche Evermore a Reservation. Listeners from the podcast from season 2, might recognize a little bit the title, because this is actually Suen the Virche Salvation, which I tried to play in Japanese, failed miserably, and the game came out in English before I could even reach chapter 2. Fun times.
Nice.
So in this otome game, because of course it is otome game time, how like the audacity of you to think we didn't have otome game time in this podcast. Like I'm going slightly insane as long as this episode goes, but I'm okay with it. So
it's cool. Got to get the otome fix in there.
Yeah. So in this game, you play as Ceres, who is a girl in this like cursed island / country of, I forgot the name of. I don't think they named the country yet, but anyway, this place is cursed in a way that everyone reaching their 23 years old suddenly gets sick and dies.
Cool.
And the protagonist in particular, Ceres, has the fame of being like the Grim Reaper or something like that, because people who get like too close to her usually meet their untimely demise for unknown reasons. And the thing is that this country has a very interesting thing. So usually you wouldn't live past 23 years of age. But there's this thing that I don't know, like the official translation, but we call them like relievers or something like that, who kind of like clone their bodies and transfer their memories when the time comes to die. So they get like an extra 23 years of life. So you could technically be more than only forever and ever in that regard. But you have to have money for it. So fuck you, you're poor. You only get the one chance of living 23 years. So other than that, that's pretty much all I know about the game so far. Like, and one fun thing about it is that this game came actually with the day one stuff that comes in the box that are like just little character cards.
Nice.
With a brief description of each of them. And why am I surprised? Well, Axis said that this was a store exclusive for the Axis store. I got this off of Amazon because I'm not paying like extra shipping for using the official Axis store and waiting like another month or like selling a kidney to get this fast. So I was happily surprised when they said they sent me the thing with the cards, because I do not have a collector's problem at all. I do not have many of these cards for any other game that they've released. But anyway, so yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Not looking suspicious at all when you try and claim that you have no collectibles.
Yeah, I do not have any collectibles at all, and I dropped something. But anyway. For the listeners at home, I just pulled the board with a stupid amount of cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is everything for this collection of games that we've been playing. Why don't we draw on to this discussion topic, which is the game of the month game, Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
So take it away, Josh.
I mean, have you played Undertale?
I have played it. I didn't finish it, but I did watch a full playthrough of it. So
okay, just to get an idea, because I have not played it. I've not touched it for 1 second, but I have watched, I don't know, a full playthrough, but I've seen most of the game in multiple different playthroughs kind of stitched together.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with Undertale, of course. I know that there are, pacifist runs and genocide runs and all this kind of thing, and I get the whole thing. But I have to say, I'm going to be a Debbie Downer, and I'm going to say that I am never going to play this game because I remember when it came out, and I remember all the meme lords telling me how much I need to play this game, and the amount of ridiculous freaking inside theories and things that people put onto this game.
Oh yeah,
which is great. I'll caveat that by saying that's cool. It's great that this little game that one dude made has been so successful and has inspired so many people to get so involved with it and to really love it and to really connect with it and to, get super obsessed with the characters and all that kind of stuff. But as someone who is on the outside of all that, boy, it's annoying. And it's the same kind of annoying that like anything that's hyped that you're not a part of can kind of be annoying. Not because I'm being left out, not because I'm going, oh, I'm too elitist for that or anything, but just because, I don't know, when every single person on the internet is trying to tell you that this is the best thing ever, and I'm looking at it going, it doesn't look like it, then it kind of gets very draining at times. And so my entire opinion on Undertale is very quick, as in, I'm glad lots of people enjoy it. I can see why lots of people enjoy it. It's obviously the choices you can make and the different approaches you can take to the game are quite refreshing, and there's a lot of meta stuff in there to get involved with, and there are interesting characters and things who aren't necessarily what they seem and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've watched enough of it to know that, yeah, okay, the story's kind of interesting, but the gameplay, the graphics, even the music is not my kind of thing. I think it's one of the most hideous games I've ever seen, which is just an opinion. It's just a taste thing. If other people like it, that's cool. Rock on. It doesn't have... I'm not the kind of person where it has to be like, you know, super hyper-realistic Call of Duty graphics to be good graphics. Like, I'm down for simple lo-fi 2D cartoony graphics to have. If a game's got a certain aesthetic that it's going for, that's way better than realism or high fidelity. But yeah, if you haven't figured out already, I don't have the most positive view of Undertale. As an outsider who's just kind of seen the hype and seen the arguments, and there's a certain... Unfortunately, I encountered, because I don't want to make it sound like this is for everybody, but unfortunately, I encountered online and on Twitter and stuff, maybe some people that I don't necessarily know personally, but followed or was, you know, adjacent to at some point, got kind of a bit elitist about it as well. And so the fandom around Undertale kind of, to me, felt very like, you're not in the club unless you are, kind of thing. And I just hate that shit. I don't like any kind of elitism on anything. And people who kind of, well, yeah, you wouldn't get it, so yeah, you shouldn't play it. So...
Oh, so you haven't finished like the pacifist route of the game, which is arguably the hardest one. So no, you aren't the real fan.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's not just me then, I see. But and you know, that's what I mean. I don't want to diss it or anything, because it's great that it's so popular and people love it, and you know, I'm super glad for the developer that it did so well and all that kind of stuff. Like, genuinely, that's rad. It's just, yeah, some games inspire that kind of meme lordy elitism around it, and it's just not my bag. I kind of very quickly turn away from stuff like that in any genre. It's like people who are mad film nerds who get up their ass about Lars von Trier or something as a director and how he's amazing. And I'm like, no, he sucks. And they're like, well, you just don't get it. I'm like, no, I just don't like him. There's a difference. and it's that kind of thing as well. It's like, it's not that I don't get it. I do. And I can appreciate why it's popular and liked, but it's not for me. So I've watched it on YouTube just to see what the hype is about, to kind of get an understanding of the zeitgeist at the time. But after watching it and seeing other people experience it, I'm just like, yep, that's all I need. That's all I'm going to do. So yeah, that's my hot take on the game of the month. Which isn't necessarily a good one, but I haven't got anything else to offer. So I don't know. What do you reckon, Paula? Is any of that true for you, or do you have other ideas?
Okay, so first of all, I do not have like such I don't like this game at all vision of the game, but I still feel like it is a little bit overhyped, a little bit being like in super massive air quotes. But thing about Undertale is, I think the year it came out, it was something that we didn't see a lot of,
True.
especially since at the back in the day, in the games were a lot less popular. So having like this game put out like one person, Toby Fox, where was like a novelty. Like, hey, this guy made a game by himself, And I'm not gonna lie, like for being like a 1% effort, like it has a lot of content, it has a lot of good stuff. It has a lot of stuff that isn't like necessarily good or bad. And it has like a couple of things that are like meh. But I do feel like people these days do overhype the hell out of it. Like especially like the fandom. Like fandoms sometimes are the worst fucking enemy to any media. I've seen it with my own eyes. And they can make you expect so much of a game that you start seeing like this marvelous thing they are trying to sell you, and when you play the game it's a total flop because they just overflew the shit out of it. That being said, I do like some aspects of the game. Like I feel the game itself has a lot of charm. The characters, even if I don't remember like half of the cast, the half of the cast that I do remember, I did really like.
Mhm.
The the main mechanic of the battles, that is like this little dodging stuff with this little heart, it's a little bit tiresome. I tried to play it after watching a couple of playthroughs of it. I feel like if you want to enjoy the game, you better go blind, and you also have to have played previously like traditional RPGs, because the game plays a lot with what you expect from an RPG and then turns it on its head. That element of surprise has faded a lot with the time, with the years, because you know now how what to expect from the game. So I feel like if you go fresh, like if you somehow live under a rock and have never heard of anything about Undertale, but you love RPGs, this is a game you should at the very least try. I'm not telling you to complete the game or anything, because no one should feel obligated to complete a game if they are not enjoying it. But at the very least, try and see for yourself like what the fuss is about. Yeah, and the graphic department, even though it has like a very minimalist art style, like it doesn't work for every character. Like sometimes some of the characters have more detail than the art allows it for, so it kind of gets a little bit messy. Some characters are really cool, like the Napster book, I think was the little ghost with the headset. Minimalist design, very well done, like fitting for the game. Then you get to Papyrus. I'm sorry, I love Papyrus, but the design is like a little bit too crowded in my opinion. And I probably could get pitchforks and fire because of that. But anyway, so yeah, like it's very a case of case basis. But the one thing that I do like about Undertale is like set tracks of the game, like soundtracks of the game. Megalovania, I think that is fire. I love Muffet's theme song with all my heart, and I that is pretty much like the music I remember from the game. Like I'm sorry, but that's the most memorable music from the game, and even though like I'm sure like at the time I was playing the game I was like, okay, this music is nice, but the ones that really jump to me were those two themes. Which, by the way, Toby Fox has done music for Pokemon, like for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that is my absolute favorite track of the game. No shade to Toby Fox, but I guess like when you have to make music for an entire game, you're not every song is gonna be a banger. And anyway, so yeah, like the story of the game, like again, it is a big surprise when you first play it, but when you know what you're doing, it loses like its shine a little bit. The the idea of making decisions through your actions rather than having to check a box like in a visual novel or something like that, I found like very refreshing in a way. It's a little bit like in Papers, Please. Like you do not check a box and said, "Hey, yeah, I'm letting you pass." No, you have to physically like review the fucking passport and put a stamp on it, like, "Yeah, I'm letting you pass." So in that regard, the impact of your actions feel like more powerful in a way. I didn't complete the game because I'm not a big fan of having to touch shit on a little screen, but I watched an entire playthrough of it's like the 3 routes of the game, and oh my god, I applaud anyone who has who gets the pacifist route, because some of these things that you have to go through look like hell in my eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though there's like 3 distinct routes, I do feel like there's like one route that is globally considered like the best route, and that is the one thing that I would like. The one thing that I would love to see the game do is that each of the 3 routes are valid, and each of the 3 routes gives you like a fulfilling, feeling when you finish the game. But in my eyes, like, even though there's 3 routes, it's like the Barbie scene where the crazy Barbie like offers like the 2 kinds of choose, and it's like you can go to your normal life and forget this ever happened, or you can have this grand adventure. And she's like, no, I'm going back to my life. Honey, you're supposed to pick the other one. I'm giving you the illusion of having choices.
Yeah.
But this is the real choice. Like, that's how Undertale feels at times in my eyes.
Yeah.
Still, I feel it is very fun to watch someone who has never played a game play it. Because it when it first came out, like, I was watching this YouTuber called Press Hard to Continue, and I really enjoyed her reactions to the game.
Yeah, she's great
at that time. Yeah, she's right. So in that case, like, if you don't want to play the game, go watch a playthrough. You're not missing anything by not playing the game. If you're going to support the Toby Fox, even though without playing the game, you're gonna still buy it if you like the playthrough. But I'm not gonna tell you to go play a game that I didn't quite enjoy playing. I do feel like you should watch a couple of things just to see what people are talking about, and then call them if you're on their budget. But anyway, that is Undertale for me. A very long-winded way to say Undertale is just okay.
Well, I think, and you touched on it a little bit, where I think it is a game that's definitely worth talking about and checking out, I think, in some form or another, because of just how popular it is and how much of an impact it did have.
Yeah.
And just, it's obviously got a lot going for it if it inspired so many people to be so passionate about it. Even if I don't understand that myself, the fact that it's inspired that in people is really great. And, not every game manages to do that. So,
yeah.
And I think, like you mentioned as well, that how much it kind of subverts expectations. And like you think, oh, well, you've got to do this as part of the game. But actually, if you do something completely unexpected, you get results most of the time, I imagine. And I think Undertale was like perhaps one of the more recent examples of games that do that inspired other games to do that as well in their own game. Because I think of games like Baba Is You, which again subverts things, as in it's a puzzle game, but you can kind of use anything on the screen as part of the puzzle. And it
is so good because you rewrite the rules of the puzzle.
Yeah, and it kind of subverts expectations in that sense. Because we're used to like looking at puzzles and seeing things like walls or barriers and knowing that they're impassable. But the game actually lets you manipulate them and say that, no, you can walk through walls. That's fine. And I think games like Undertale...
You can walk on lava.
Yeah. I think games like Undertale have inspired that kind of train of thought in other developers, which is really cool. And, makes it kind of an important entry in the history. But the other thing that you said, which I thought was interesting, was that you felt like it was kind of one of those games that made indie games really popular, like in recent times. And I definitely agree with you. But I just had a little Google to look up stuff because I think part of the difference, or part of what made me kind of question that, was more coming from a PC gamer perspective as opposed to a console gamer perspective.
Right.
Because for console games, I think Undertale and similar era kind of games definitely did push those like very small indie one developer kind of games on Switch and PlayStation and whatever. Whereas about almost 10 years before that, I feel like there was a huge push on PC for games like that. Like Jonathan Blow's Braid came out in 2008, and that kind of era to me is very much the big, everyone's like, oh, indie games are amazing, and the big boom of indie games, like proper indie games.
I completely forgot that Braid was an indie game, now that I think about it, because I didn't see it launch myself.
Yeah.
But my forecast told me about it, but I forgot it was an indie game.
Yeah, and when I say indie game, obviously that's a very nebulous kind of thing, but I'm talking about small team games, like 1 person, 2 people kind of development teams. And there was that period in like the mid-late 2000s where, especially on PC and on Steam, there was a huge boom of quality, well-made indie games like Braid and its compatriots that kind of, I think, made everyone pay more attention, and you didn't have to be on like itch.io or what's the other one, Newgrounds or something like that to find these kind of games. And then I think a bit later, like in the 2010s, like 2015, when Undertale came out, that's when it kind of hit consoles more, because by then people like Nintendo were doing their like indiecade stuff, and Xbox was doing their indie, I forget what they called it, but it was basically some indie focused push of indie games on Xbox, and PlayStation were doing their thing. So the consoles kind of took a few years to catch up with PC, just because it's easier to distribute stuff on PC.
Yeah.
Like literally pop it on a website and people can download it. So, fair enough. It takes a little bit longer to hit consoles, but I hadn't really thought about that. But I think Undertale was definitely one of those ones that, especially on consoles like the Switch, which used to be more closed off and everything, or Nintendo consoles in general, that it kind of stood out as this is a big popular game that one person made, and kind of got people thinking about it in that sense. And so, that's what I mean. It's for as much as I don't have much interest in the game and it kind of annoys me, I can totally appreciate its significance and its popularity and its position in gaming history, if we want to talk about it that way. Because I think it's definitely one of those ones that stands out and probably above many others like it, just for its reception and, how rabid people have been over this particular title.
Yep.
In itself, that makes it interesting and makes it, worthy in my mind. But I'm still not going to play it. Because
yeah, I don't know which fandom is worse, the Undertale one or the Five Nights at Freddy's one. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's interesting as well. Definitely won't be playing that one. That would make me put myself a bit too much, I think. I've watched playthroughs and haven't managed to watch all of the playthrough.
Oh my god, I thought I was the scaredy cat.
Oh no. But yeah, Undertale, I think it's good that it is a game of the month, to be fair, because of how significant it is as a game. But yeah, I don't really have much else to add other than it's not really my thing.
Yeah, nothing else to add. There's like one more song, which I forget the name of, but yeah, 3 songs that I like from the game. The rest is forgettable, sorry. Still, like, the best thing of the game is probably like the characters and stuff. But anyway, enough of that.
To other games.
Yeah, to other games, to other horizons, and time for me to guess the game that Josh brought with him today.
Yes, I am going to quiz Paula on a game. So pop your thinking cap on. We're about to hit you with a main story clue. I'll give you the time straight up for this completion. This is a 2 hour and 12-minute completion.
Okay.
The comment says sped through the story, stuck for a couple of minutes on 2 puzzles.
Okay. Is it Railbound?
No.
Wait, I think that is like a 3-hour thing. Invento?
No.
You said 2 hours and what?
12 minutes.
12 minutes.
For this main story playthrough.
Stuck in a couple of puzzles. Is it the room?
No. That time is a little bit quick for the average.
Oh, okay. Is it... Well, this fishing garden doesn't have puzzles, does it? I don't think so. If I remember correctly, no, it doesn't have puzzles. It has a fishing game. Is it line like with a Y?
No, I know the game you're talking about, and it is not that
one. No, that one I haven't finished.
Sped through the story, stuck for a couple of minutes on 2 puzzles.
It has a story, I guess. It could. That's the thing. Could be like a actual story, or like, hey, this is the situation kind of story, and go with it. No, that one lasts 6 hours. Is it? What's it called? Night? Is it? Oh, what's the name of this game? I forgot the name of this series, but it's a point and click and has Scarlet in the title. Not a student Scarlet, that's Sherlock Holmes. Okay, you can move with the second clue because maybe that will jog my memory a little bit more.
I will also add that this is available on basically everything. It's one of those kind of games.
Okay.
Okay, so for a main plus, and this could give it away very quickly, this is a 3-hour 18-minute playthrough, and the comment is main campaign plus all 6 advanced chambers.
6 advanced chambers. I'm really digging into my memory right now.
Think back.
There's some cobwebs over there. Oh my god. Advanced chambers. It isn't a room game, isn't it?
No, it is not a room game of any form in that series.
Yeah. What the hell is an advanced chamber?
I'm pretty sure there'll be some people listening who know exactly what that means, but...
Okay,
Needless to say, this is a very popular game as well.
Oh no, people are gonna be mad at it in the comments. Is it Baba Is You?
Nope.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah.
We got puzzles and chambers.
I have a special bonus clue if we get to the next comment, which I'm just saying because it sounds spicy.
Yep. Spicy boy. Bonus chambers. What the hell? And puzzles.
Yep.
And it is popular. It is a popular game, and it is in everything but your refrigerator.
It's on.
And it is not the room.
It is not the room. But I imagine the room is on just as many platforms as this one is. Because the room seems to be on everything.
Give me the other clue.
Alright. There are a couple of clues I'm going to give you. One of them... Well, I'll tell you this one clue first. Because I think it's interesting. And I'm just going to double check it real quick. Yeah, okay. This game is one of the most... one of the games on How Long to Beat with the most submissions. It's in the top tier of popularity on How Long to Beat.
Portal.
It is Portal.
Oh, I'm stupid. Portal is like a couple of hours. I didn't know it has extra chambers though.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of challenge levels and stuff after the main campaign.
I just got the main campaign, and since I was like sick from emotion, I just left it at that. Oh my god, I can't believe it didn't occur to me before.
Oh, well, that's where, the advanced chambers is one of those clues where if you knew it, it would get you, but if not, it's probably not going to help you that much. But
Yeah.
But yeah, there are 29.7 thousand submissions on Halland's Beat for this.
Holy crap.
And it is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on the search page. So it's the 11th most popular game on the site at the moment, right after Portal 2 for that matter. So yeah, it's definitely a popular title that a lot of people have played.
I'll take my point. Thank you very much.
It is actually, it's number 1 for most completed on the website on Halland's Beat.
Yeah.
So just about everyone has played that. So
I feel bad for not getting it so they're bad anyway.
Well, that's all right.
You win some, you lose some.
I don't mind.
Of course you don't mind.
If I'm honest. So we're only a couple of points apart now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I swear I didn't do that on purpose. But that's just for anyone listening as well. Like, that's the kind of difficulty of it, because a clue that says something about advanced chambers, could either give it away straight away or obviously not if it doesn't. So it's kind of hard to pick sometimes, but hey, you just got to roll the dice and see what happens.
Yep.
But we got there in the end. Well done. Better than bombing out completely. I don't think any of us have actually bombed out completely yet. Maybe I have. I can't remember.
I think you did once.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
only
I've just
once.
forced it out of my memory. Just pretend like it doesn't exist.
It was a traumatic experience.
Yeah, pretty much. But I think that should do us.
Well, thank you everyone to listening to this couple of fools rant about games for a little while. Are you mad about our opinion on Undertale? Well, remember, you can just email us or leave a comment or anything, or reach out to us in the forums and try to and you can get in as a guest and pretty much tell us why we're all fucking wrong and why we need a life and all that jazz. What was the name of the thing? Oh, change my mind. You can change our minds in this thing.
Yeah.
Or at the very least try. So yeah. See you on the next time. Bye.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye. I can just easily bash them with my Iron Lizard.